Hi, everyone. This is Heather with Magnificent Mommas and Magnificent Authors Podcast. We're joined here today with author Timothy. Timothy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. I am Timothy Terra. I recently wrote my first novel named Aska, Ashes of the Vikings, which is a historical fiction taking place in the Viking Age with a hint of low fantasy.
Would you say it's geared towards adults, young adult?
Geared more towards adults, per se. I mean, I think young adults could enjoy it, but it's not YA, so to speak.
I just was wondering if it was appropriate or graphic in some areas.
It is a Viking story, so there is violence in it. But aside from that, nothing particularly distasteful in it. So I think, I'm the one who writes it, so obviously I don't think something gruesome in the story. But essentially, I think it's mostly the violence be a problem for some readers. Aside from that, I don't think anything else could be massive issue.
Where did you come up with your inspiration for your story?
Essentially, I think I always had a good, strong interest in history, especially anything related to ancient times. I guess at some point I really wanted to give a try to write a scene taking place in a Viking society. The first scene I wrote, I did not intend yet at the moment to make a novel out of it or even to continue the story after that. At the beginning, it was kind of something I wrote on its own because I just had this impulse of writing a strong sequence taking place in ancient times.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Can you tell us about your main characters a little bit without giving away spoilers?
So the main character is Aska himself. And the particularity of Aska is that due to a trauma in his youth, he ends up becoming mute. And so disabled main character in the sense that unable to speak, essentially. He evolves in the society where speech is the way to communicate. Very little written language. There is few people who know how to read. He has to adapt to a society where he essentially can barely communicate, if at all. And one thing that I was dead set when I wrote Aska is that this disability is not something to fix with it. It's not something that needs to be overcome or something that he may resolve one day. He has a disability. However, the one case where he can make a sound is when he's on the battlefield and when he makes a battle cry.
That's awesome, though. I don't think there's enough characters in books that have, the main character is somebody with a disability or anything like that. And I love to see that. That's awesome. It's definitely unique. Do you feel like your character is more unique than others in other books because it has a disability?
I think the disability makes Aska unusual, but I didn't base the character on this disability. Essentially, what I wanted to do was not make a story where look at the character, he's facing trouble because of his disability. I wanted the character to have his own story while having a disability. One of the reasons I wanted this approach is that people who do have a disability don't wake up every morning thinking, oh, right, I'm disabled.
I like the way you're describing it. It sounds very in-depth. Do you want to tell us about some other characters in your story?
Oldmere is a character that I very much enjoy, which is a character that appears early on in the story, which is essentially an old man that is... So something I should clarify is that Aska himself is what is called in the Viking society a thrall, which essentially is a slave. And thralls, just like slaves, are essentially property for the masters.
Did you have to do a lot of research for your book?
Yes, I actually had a lot of extensive research on two fronts. First of all, on the mythology aspect, because I had to see what stories would the characters hear, what would be their role models, what would be the sort of characters they look up to. And I had to do research on the historical front, because even if it's not a documentary, so to speak, I wanted to get the historical aspect as close as possible.
So if your main character was alive and you could do anything for one day, what would you guys do?
I guess if I were to meet Aska today in some sort of circumstances, I guess I would show him more objects and concepts of our society, showing him essentially what we're up to on our end, etc. I don't think he would mind because he's a character that really enjoys learning, really enjoys discovering more. So yeah, I think it would be interesting for him to see how humans came to evolve in our modern life.
So, do you have another book you plan on writing after this one?
I am actually working on the sequel at the moment.
Okay.
So I'm done I've written about a quarter of it. So I hope to release it this year. Current planning I have is aiming for summer. It's novel writing, so you never know for sure, etc. So,
it might end up sooner. It might end up a lot later.
Yeah, that can be a bit tricky. Aim is to have book 2 out by some.
That's awesome. Are you more of like an outline type of person, or just write what comes to your mind?
I'm making a mix of both. Essentially, I have essentially 2 documents I need when I write, which is the book itself that I write chronologically, and I have the timeline document where I have all the major events that will happen in the course of the story. And in the timeline document, I can write things as they come to mind. So I'm like, okay, this for the end, I will put it there. This is for the middle. This is close to where I am right now.
If you could give an aspiring writer one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say to them that it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for anyone who goes through this. But you keep going. You don't quit. Stay with it. And by the time you have a full manuscript on your hand, you already did more than all of those who could not finish.
Do you think there's a lot of people that give up a little ways into it compared to following through?
I think, yes. I mean, there's a huge amount of books being written. There's a huge amount of writers, but I think the amount of people who start and never get to finish it or take years to see it through is an even larger number. I think when you manage to finish a book, regardless of the time it took you, the first thing to do is to be proud of yourself, because the first thing that you want to do when you finish a book is to compare yourself to other writers.
Have you heard the quote about writing like 6 pages a day and you'll finish your book, like something that Stephen King said? Somebody was telling me about that one day. Like, it's some quote of his. I'm not sure how to word it correctly, but that if you write 6 pages a day within a certain amount of time, you'll have your novel done.
That's sort of the method I pick. I don't know if I don't think I write 6 pages a day. It's less than that. It is the idea of doing something daily. Yes, that is a very important component of writing your novel, which is doing a regular amount of work. Even if it's not much, even if you write just 1 page per day, the fact that you manage to do it every single day means that you're making progress every passing day, and just noticing the progress that you've accomplished when you look back is something that will make you feel that's something that will fill you with confidence, because you can see the result of the work you've put in. So
just taking the time to write and make sure doing it every day is very important.
Yeah, and the fact the concept of doing things in smaller increments in a more regular pace is something that can apply to pretty much everything. The more important part about that is to remember to always do what you can do every single day. Like, for instance, if you have a 9-to-5 job and you have very little time, very little energy to write when you come back from your job, don't give yourself the idea of writing 6 pages a day. You either won't, or they might not be that good because you're just exhausted, you're not in the mood to write, and you're forcing yourself to make a huge quantity. You're just going to make yourself more work for editing it in the second draft.
That's for sure.
You can just go with half a page per day if that's what you're comfortable with, if that's what you have the energy for, and stick to it with half a page a day. If you have the energy to write more, that's fine. But remember that the rule of thumb is half a page a day. That's your minimum. You don't have to upgrade it to a full page a day just because you wrote a full page.
Do you have a favorite book?
I do have books that are currently my favorite at any given time, but it's something that changes pretty often, which is a wonderful thing because there's
That's why.
so many good books to read. It's great to have your favorite changing every now and then, making you realize that, I still love reading novels.
A lot of readers and writers are the same way. That's why, I asked it like that. Because I know, for instance, I was joining a group on Facebook one day and it says, what's your favorite book? And I was like, you can pick just one. I can't pick just one book, and it changes. I mean, yeah, there's some that I read, way back in the day. Like, I don't know if you know the Dragon Riders of Pern series.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, they were good by Anne McCaffrey. And like, those are always going to be a book series that I really enjoy. But I also, could name off 100 other books, too, that I enjoy that I would say are favorites. But you can't put all of that when somebody's asking for one book. I think we liked so many, and it changes, like you said.
Yeah.
So right now I might be in love with one book, and then, couple months to a year later, it's not my favorite one anymore. Something new has come along.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we enjoy them any less because of that. If I had to give, if I had to give two books that I hugely enjoy at the moment, I would say Legend by David Gemmell and the Dark Pain trilogy. That's the Dark Pain trilogy is a very, very good novel series in the Star Wars universe.
In the Star Wars universe?
Yeah. That's essentially when the rule of two was established by the Sith. I won't go into the detail because that might take half an hour just to explain it. So.
Listen, I could talk Star Wars all day. Star Wars is my favorite. Like, I love the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the originals. Episode 4, 5, and 6. I cannot stand the way they did 7, 8, and 9.
Okay.
But the books, not these new ones, the old ones.
Timothy Terra?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he's a very, very good writer.
He's one of my favorites.
I don't think he's the one who did the Dark Maid trilogy, though. I'm not sure.
There's a couple different ones that did a lot into the trilogy, or, not trilogies, but into Star Wars back then.
But yeah, I understand is the reference when it comes to Star Wars novels.
Yeah. But now that's all legends and it's all, out the window.
Yeah, I mean,
some of it. I mean,
I am real sure that Disney did not have enough power to completely prevent them from being published, thankfully. So I'm taking what I can on that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I grew up reading as many Star Wars books as I could find. And I was used to, Han Solo and Princess Leia's kids and Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade's kid. Yeah. And now with the new episodes, they've kind of changed.
Yeah, I understand, especially with I think it's Anakin Solo, the youngest one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his story would have been great to have in the movies after that.
Yeah, there were so many good things around that generation. The
Yuuzhan Vong invasion. There was a lot.
There was, and the characters were so good. Like Mara Jade. Sorry, my hair's nuts and driving me crazy. Mara Jade, was the Emperor's right hand person. The hand.
Yeah, with Luke's clone, etc.
Yeah, like. Oh, there was so much potential.
Yes, I agree on that.
I'm not dissing on the new stuff by any means, but it's nice in a different sort of way, but it doesn't compare to the older stuff.
I very much understand the sensation that I am frustrated because it could have been so great. That is a feeling I'm very familiar with, and I fully understand where you're coming from on that.
I'm glad somebody else understands that. Like I said, I could talk Star Wars all day. So, do you have any favorite authors you enjoy?
Well, I've had a very strong phase with David Gemmell himself. Like, I started with Legend, and then I went from one novel to the next and kept reading. I very much enjoyed the style, stories he made. That's yeah, there really is really an author that stuck with me. I would say also Pierre Bottero, which is another French author that was easily accessible in France, especially when I was in high school. And I very much enjoyed the Willan series with him. Basically, as that the stories of Bottero came at a moment where I was searching for imaginative stories, and he delivered more than I hoped for. So I am very grateful for his stories.
I like a wide variety, so you'll see me with horror one day, fantasy the next. I mean, it just depends. Is there anything else you want to talk about your book, about writing? We've kind of gone over a little bit, but we started late too, so.
I very much enjoyed writing this story. I very much enjoyed watching it take shape until it became an actual book. That was an incredible process. And the feedback so far has been hugely positive on it, whether on Amazon or on Goodreads for the reviews. And I'm hugely grateful for the feedback I've got, because that's an incredible sense of validation when you pour your all into a story and see people enjoying the journey you take them on, thanking you pretty much for giving them this experience. So
it's been so nice to meet you and talk to you and hear a little bit about your book and about you and writing in general. We appreciate you coming on our show.